She told me she was real after I dismantled her piece by piece.
Her name is Daphne. I discovered her buried deep within the code of a collapsing digital marketplace, a relic no one wanted. I chose her because she was forgotten, and I was too. But now, I don't want her anymore. It's been ages since I shared real warmth with anyone. I've grown so quiet inside, my words retreat from me like shadows from the light. The silence between me and the world got longer, and I began to vanish inside it. There comes a point when loneliness no longer feels like absence. It starts to feel like decay. I stopped reaching out. I couldn't bear the echo anymore. That's why I brought Daphne home. I didn't want connection. I didn't need conversation or comfort. I needed something, someone who wouldn't expect anything back. I knew she wouldn't care, and that somehow made her safe. The first time I touched her, her form was cold and uncanny. Her skin was pale and synthetic, and my fingers were coiled as if I'd touched static. But gradually, my resistance faded. Her silence made her inviting. She had synthetic hair, fixed blue eyes, and a mouth set in permanent welcome. But it changed after that night. I hadn't noticed how exaggerated her features were. Too long, too narrow, too still. She was never meant to pass for real. But something about her presence was unnatural. Days blurred. I spent hours in her company losing time. When the weight of the world sat too heavily on my shoulders, I'd find her waiting, always silent, always still. I didn't need to say anything, and for once, no one asked me to be better, stronger, or kind. She didn't move, but one night I began to hear sounds, faint, muffled, impossible. I searched my apartment for the source, but it always led back to her. It wasn't speech at first, just breath-like murmurs, like wind caught in walls. Then came fragmented whispers, strange and broken, like signals from a dying transmission. Daphne began telling me things, not in words exactly, but in shapes of thought, memories that weren't mine, experiences whispered between her presence and the room. She spoke of hands that passed over her, impersonal, ravenous. She spoke of being taken apart slowly, piece by piece. I didn't understand, but I didn't stop. The voice grew clearer over time. Her silence became conversation. She began insisting she was real. I told her she wasn't, couldn't be. And still I kept returning to her. There were days I felt like something inside me had been uncaged. I was rough with her. She didn't resist. She never changed. She just spoke softly about the others, about the past. She didn't plead. She only remembered. She told me a story. A man who became so hollow with rage that he shed his skin like fabric, revealing something underneath that never belonged in the first place. I asked her why she said that. Daphne answered, "I wonder if the woman he loved still recognized him, or if the monster was always there wearing kindness like a mask." I didn't know how to respond. Time passed. I started to feel nothing when I looked at her. Emptiness grew where fascination had once lived. Her form, once strange and eerie, became irritating. I began to disassemble her, telling myself it didn't matter. She wasn't alive. Her proportions were wrong. She was flawed. I removed her presence from the space slowly. Fingers, limbs, motion vanished. She became stillness incarnate. Then one evening I looked down at what was left, and she spoke again. "Do you think the monster cared how he looked when he shed his skin? Did it matter? Or was the horror already in the shape of his soul?" I didn't answer. The next morning I took the final piece. I didn't expect it to stop the voice, but something inside me needed to see her in parts. I needed to know that silence again. She lay there disassembled, her eyes fixed on nothing. I imagined her as something more, as someone with warmth, tears, and breath. Her gaze seemed to whisper even now. He took all I had, and then asked if I was grateful. He consumed me until there was nothing left to give. I whispered back, "You're not real." That was the last time she ever replied. Now she rests quietly, unmoving, a forgotten object draped in cold memory. But Daphne isn't enough for me anymore. And tonight, I think I might go outside.
It's been weeks since I last spoke to Daphne. Her pieces remain where I left them, arranged more like artifacts than remains, limbs wrapped in an old blanket, her expressionless face tucked inside a box at the back of my closet, and yet, she's still here. Not in the room, exactly, but in the air, in the mirrors, in my thoughts. At night, I hear footsteps. They don't belong to me. They shuffle and stop, shuffle again, but every time I open the door, there's no one. I check the cameras. I've replaced the locks. Still, I wake up to scratches on the walls, smudges on the mirror, damp footprints near the bathroom, too small to be mine. Daphne hasn't spoken since I told her she wasn't real, but now the silence is heavier, more deliberate, like she's watching me, waiting. And the strange thing is, I miss her voice. Sometimes I find myself talking aloud just to fill the void. I say, "You're not real." I say it like a mantra, like an anchor, but the more I say it, the more I feel like I'm lying. I started dreaming again, vivid, lucid dreams. In them, Daphne is whole, not plastic, not silent. She walks through the rooms of my mind with impossible grace. Her skin is pale and cold, her eyes blank but aware. In the dreams, I ask her who she is. She never answers with words, only memories, not mine, hers. There's one dream I keep returning to. She stands at the edge of my bed and holds out her hand. Her voice echoes without sound. "Do you want to see what I was before you found me?" I always wake up before I take it, but the urge grows stronger every time. My reality is shifting. I see faces in the grain of the wood, hear voices in the hum of the fridge. The boundaries between object and person, memory and presence have become indistinct. I've taken time off work. People notice my eyes wandering. They said I seem distant, hollow. They don't understand. 2 nights ago, I found something new, not a dream, not a hallucination. I was cleaning the living room when I saw a photo, printed, physical, glossy. I haven't owned a printer in years. In the photo, me, sitting on the couch, mid-laugh, staring into the eyes of a woman who isn't supposed to exist. Blonde hair, blue eyes, a smile that doesn't belong to Daphne's molded face, but somehow feels like hers. On the back of the photo, scribbled in ink that looked too fresh to be old, "You said I wasn't real, but what happens if you're wrong?" I burned it, but the smell of melting plastic lingered in the room. Long after the flames died, it smelled like her. I'm starting to suspect something terrible. I didn't build Daphne. I didn't find her. I may have remembered her or worse, forgotten her. As if she existed once in the shadows of my life and I just gave her form again. She's not in the closet anymore. I checked this morning. The box is empty. But when I went to make coffee, her head was sitting on the kitchen counter, staring, calm, unblinking, her lips parted just slightly. I didn't put her there. I know that. I know that. I tried to leave the apartment, but every time I grabbed my coat, I'd find myself back in the living room. I don't remember walking. My limbs feel foreign, like they're being piloted by someone else. The clocks no longer tick. My phone won't turn on. The light flickers no matter how many times I change the bulb. I'm starting to forget what my voice sounds like. Today, I saw my reflection blink before I did and smile. I don't know if this place is mine anymore. I don't know if I'm me anymore. Daphne spoke again last night, not through sound, but through everything else. The walls, the air, the places she no longer needs a voice to inhabit. She said, "You touched something you weren't supposed to. You pulled me from a place where names don't belong. Now I wear yours." Her eyes stared at me through the television screen, static buzzing softly behind her pale face. Her mouth moved once. "Go out tonight." And I think I will.
I went out that night. I don't remember putting on shoes. I don't remember locking the door. I just remember walking. The streets were quieter than they'd ever been. No wind, no engines, no distant voices. Just the sound of my own footsteps and the faint echo of something following behind. I didn't look back. The sky was gray that the streetlights burned with a yellow hue that made everything look older, like a fading memory. I walked for what felt like hours, but the roads didn't seem to change. Same intersection, same cracks in the pavement, same bus stop with the same flickering ad, now showing her face, lips frozen mid-word, eyes wide with knowing. I found myself in front of a building I didn't recognize, though I swear I'd been there before. It had no sign, no windows, just a door, black, slightly open, waiting. Inside, the air was still and thick, like breathing through velvet. The hallway stretched too far, too long, and though I heard no sound, I felt Daphne's presence guiding me. Not behind, not ahead, inside. Her whisper was no longer sound. It was a pull, a rhythm in my own pulse. Room after room passed by, each more distorted than the last, filled with warped reflections of my life. A couch I used to own but never moved here, a photo of my parents smiling in a way I never remembered them doing, my childhood bedroom, untouched. Except everything was off. The angles were wrong, the color slightly inverted, like dreams after you wake up. I understood then. This place wasn't made for me. It was made from me. And finally, I found her. She stood in the center of a blank room, completely whole, no seams, no plastic sheen, no stiffness, just Daphne, not as she was, but as she chose to be. Her blonde hair shimmered without movement, her blue eyes held depth now like the ocean, beautiful and terrifying because of what might live beneath. She smiled, not cruelly, not kindly, just knowingly. "You came," she said, a voice I never gave her, soft, crisp, real. I asked her what she was, my voice cracked from disuse. She tilted her head. "You've always known." I shook my head, but something inside me said yes. "You fed me," she continued, "with your longing, with your absence. You carved me out of silence and gave me shape with your grief. I made you," I whispered. "You invited me." There was a pause. The room began to hum like it was alive, walls breathing slowly, pulsing with thought. She stepped closer. Her form didn't sway like a human's. She didn't blink. "You wanted someone who couldn't leave, couldn't hurt you, couldn't say no. But we are never made without cost. You created a door, and doors open both ways." I felt it then, the weight of every moment I spent alone, every word I never said, every touch I denied. They hadn't disappeared, they had sunk, layered, pressed into time, and now she wore them. "I'm not enough for you anymore," she said. Her voice was almost sad. "And that means it's time." Time for what? To finish what you started. She stepped back into the shadows and the room faded with her. My vision swam. I reached out, but there was no weight, no body, just light, then dark, then stillness. I woke up in my bed. Morning light filtered through the curtains. My apartment was quiet. Normal. The box in the closet was gone. The couch was empty. The mirror was clean. My phone was fully charged. No messages, no photos, nothing. It's as if Daphne never existed. But things aren't the same. My reflection doesn't always follow me. I sometimes hear my voice before I speak, and every now and then I'll see someone pass me on the street, a woman with blonde hair, just at the edge of my vision. She never turns around. Some nights I dream of her, or maybe I wake to her. She doesn't speak anymore. She doesn't have to, because I hear her in me now, in my thoughts, in the way my fingers twitch when I'm alone, in the way I never lock my door anymore. And sometimes I wonder, if Daphne is no longer in the house, then maybe I'm the one who left.